Hey, it's your girl Jenny and welcome to my booktube channel. It feels really weird to be back here. Quick fun fact, I started on YouTube, went to TikTok, and now we're here. I am still planning to post there and here and on Instagram, so I'm gonna be busy, but I am excited nonetheless. This is a booktube channel, so we're primarily here for books and bookish things. I plan to recycle some of my content that I already have over on TikTok and moving it here, and then also I am planning to do some long form content here, especially with my vlogs. I love vlogs, I love watching them, creating them, so if that is something that is intriguing to you, then by all means feel free to stay. The type of reader that I am a mood reader AF, so if you want someone that can stick to a TBR, it ain't here. It really isn't here because I plan for a week and that doesn't always go as planned. Now moving into the genres that I love to read, I read horror, extreme horror, splatterpunk, and on the other side of that, I also love to read romance, dark romance, spicy romance, smut, the dirtier the better, and then the occasional thriller. So yeah, I am very excited to be here, and I also wanted to share with you guys the last few books, and by that I mean like the last 15 books that I've read. That way you have an idea of what you're getting yourself into as you join me on my booktube journey. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Now most recently I have read No Greater Oblivion by Leonora Mendez Castillo, and that is a romance, and that is book 3 in her series. We follow Dalia and Alejandro, and they are just trying to navigate their relationship, and it is very toxic at this point but also still very hot. I am rooting for both of them to work through their individual issues so that they can hopefully get back together, and I'm just gonna go backwards in time. And then before that I read Santa Muerte Claus by RJ Bonetti, and essentially this is Christmas carnage story, and I'll leave it at that because it's a deranged Santa. I also read Christmas Night of the Scurry Furry by E. Reyes. These little creatures make the gremlins look like angels. They are little toys that come to life and they are bloodthirsty. For that I read an arc of F Them Kids by Timothy King, and it is a collection of 10 short stories all revolving around sinister children, and they're pretty evil and I enjoyed every single story. Prior to that I read Mortifier by Sarah DeRosa, and if you enjoyed Art the Clown in the Terrifier franchise then you'll love her spin on him, and this is about a friendship between a clown named Mort and Bulbous the skunk. Essentially Bulbous helps Mort find his voice and confidence and finally fights back to his bullies, aka his mom. Before that I read House Call Books 1 and 2 by Matthew Vaughn, and this is definitely a nasty read. I enjoyed them, but they're definitely not for everybody, so I recommend that you read this if you have a very strong stomach. Prior to that, I read Seek Shelter Now by Stellan Dickerson, and this was a natural disaster thriller slash horror thriller revolving Simona, and she has minutes to take shelter because there is a tornado on her way, but there is also a strange man hiding in her bunker. Very adrenaline inducing. For that I read Basted by Abby Hunter, and this was very interesting read because it was a sentient object romance, and I am not opposed to reading those, but it was heavy on a pregnancy trope and that is not for me, but it was a fun read if you can get over a pregnancy trope, which again, not for me. Before that, I read Stork by Shane Mackenzie, and this was a story about a woman who has had trouble with miscarriages, and then now she is pregnant once again with her husband, and she spirals because she wants to do anything to protect this baby, and we follow her as she descends into madness. And then before that I read Frozen Obsession by Luna K. Wicked, and Luna is quickly one of my favorite authors this year. This is a dual POV where we follow Xena and Roman, I believe. I'm really bad with character names, but they are stepbrother, stepsister, and he essentially does something one Christmas night that destroys their family, and then we pick up 10 years later and he's still obsessed with her and he wants to break her. But how can you break someone that's already broken? Because since that night she has fallen into use, and she's done work to get by, and she's already broken. So now that he sees what she is like now, he wants to do anything to fix her and then destroy her. And it is very hot and spicy. And for a Thanksgiving read, I read Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder by Roland Bursey Jr. And we follow Rebecca, who is tired of the McIntyre family and their turkey farm. She's going to do whatever it takes to take down this family and make sure they never do stuff like this again. And it is bloody, it is gory. And chapter 1 is actually the turkey's POV, and we follow as they go through the slaughterhouse, and that plays a big part in the story later on. This was a fun Thanksgiving read. And then I read Enchanted Entrails by C.M. Guidros, and this is a fantasy with lots of smut and then a sprinkle of gore, and we follow Alara, a witch, and Gareth, an ogre, and they have a bloody vendetta against the town. They have mistreated them and they are out to get their revenge. Then before that, I read The Feast That Keeps on Giving by Luna K. Wicked, and this story was an absolute mind fuck. I'm just gonna leave it at that, but if you have an issue with that Christopher Columbus guy, then you are definitely gonna enjoy this read. And the last story that I will talk about is The Man on the Roof by Archer Black. We follow Nikki, and she is being held captive by her family. She is stuck in a room, and she's forced to do things to these men, and they are both sexual and violent in nature, unfortunately, and she can't escape it until she notices that there's a man on a roof of her neighbor. She is a witness to the crimes that he commits against her neighbors, and then he starts going to more and more of her neighbors, so it's only a matter of time before he makes it to her house. And I'll just leave it at that because that story was phenomenal. So yeah, that is an overview of what to expect here on my booktube, the type of genres that I gravitate toward, and the types of books and authors I enjoy reading. And if you can't tell, I love supporting indie authors, so you'll definitely see that a lot on my channel. And yeah, big mood reader, so you're gonna see a lot of that on my channel. So I would love to know what you like to read. And as always, happy reading.